Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Outshined Outlaw, and today I want to talk about a video game series that has stuck with me ever since I was a wee lad Silent Hill. Silent Hill 2 is receiving a remake in the near future by Bloober Team, so I decided to dust off the old Silent Hill games and see how they hold up. After great modern remakes like Shadow of the Colossus, Demon Souls, Resident Evil 1 through 4, The Last of Us, etc., I'm excited to see what they do with James and his clusterfuck of a psyche in today's technological day and age. But today I decided I'd reach all the way back to the game that started the now reanimated franchise, Silent Hill for the PlayStation 1. Don't worry, I'll probably make a Silent Hill 2 video of its own if this one does okay. So like and subscribe if you want to stay tuned, all that. I realize long form video essay type videos have been done to death and now apparently undeath on the Silent Hill lore, theories, discussions, what have you. So today I bring you a theory I cooked up in my mind while playing through the first game. What if I told you that Harry Mason, in fact, didn't have a daughter? Sybil Bennett wasn't a police officer from Brahms, the next town over. Or that Alessa is an unfortunate, tragic character. Well, that one's actually just true in general, but it's through a new lens this time. Today, I will set forth the proposition that Harry Mason is the victim of a government psyop not unlike MK Ultra, only instead of focusing on forced confessions, they were focused on mind control through psychedelic and dissociative drugs. Quick disclaimer though, before I get into this, most of my sources are anecdotal and ideas at best. There is a pretty big leap of faith you have to take to further suspend your disbelief. However, I view this game as a work of art, and as such, it is to be interpreted by the beholder. And in this case, the beholder was me. I'm aware that the game's also been out for 24 years, and if you click this video, you probably already know the full story of Silent Hill, even the shitty games, and for that, good on ya. But for everyone else, here's a quick rundown. Harry Mason is a single father. His daughter's name is Cheryl. He's taking her on vacation to Silent Hill, where he swerves off the road after almost hitting a little girl at night. Later, he wakes up in Silent Hill. He notices that Cheryl is no longer in the car. He looks all over the town and gets acquainted with the locals down a dark alleyway and passes out. He wakes up in the diner with Sybil Bennett, a policewoman from Brahms, the next town over. They agree to help each other out and try to find a way out of the town while looking for Harry's missing daughter. Harry runs around Silent Hill following vague, nightmarish clues and ends up at the school to look for his daughter. Harry kills a giant lizard and then hears some church bells. Eventually, Harry makes his way to the church where he meets Dahlia Gillespie. Dahlia spouts off some schizo nonsense about spells, gyromancy, darkness, flowers. Basically, she tells Harry to take the MacGuffin to the hospital and fuck off. Harry leaves the church with the bridge key and the pyramid thing that she left. That thing's a floweress. Next, Harry partakes in breaking into state property using taxpayer resources to further his goal. Harry then makes it across the bridge and to the hospital. Harry meets Michael Kaufman, who almost smokes him like Dick Cheney on a hunting trip. He says some vague, darkly hopeless stuff and dips out. Harry explores the hospital, looking for clues about his daughter when the nightmare world comes again. After following some clues and solving some neat puzzles, he meets Lisa Garland, a scary nurse who works at the hospital. The sirens come again and take Harry back to the normal hospital, except Dahlia shows up to further gaslight our hero into doing what she wants. Harry picks up another key that Dahlia leaves for him, and he's off to the shop. He makes his way to the shop, avoiding scary monsters. Once he makes it there, he meets Sybil again. Harry displays some Giga Chad vibes and climbs into a hole in the wall. He finds himself in a room with an altar. Realizing that the altar is in fact not his daughter, he decides to leave, but the altar then bursts into flames. Harry again blacks out and reawakens back at the hospital with Lisa again. Harry tells Lisa that Dahlia told him the town is being devoured by darkness. Lisa tells him that there's cult activity in the town. Harry then passes out again and reawakens in the nightmare version of the antique shop, questioning his grip on reality. Same, man. He figures if he talks to Lisa for sure, she might know what's going on, so he heads to the hospital. Well, Harry, doing as he pleases, decides to kill a caterpillar on the way to meeting Lisa. After running through the nightmare version of the town, he makes it to the hospital and finally talks to Lisa. Harry asks if she knows a way to the lake, and she says Bachman Road. However, that road is blocked. Lisa remembers there's a waterworks by the school and begs Harry not to leave her. Harry offers to take her along and maybe kinda, sorta try to protect her, maybe? But she says she's not supposed to leave, I guess? Harry tells Lisa she's overreacting and that he has to go look for his daughter. Harry goes and kills a moth, then the nightmare world disappears, leaving him stranded and hung over on a roof. Right, so Harry teleports to the sewer entrance and once again breaks into state property to further his goals and wallows around in the filth for an hour or so. Once he finds his way out of the sewers, he finds himself in yet another part of Silent Hill. Harry picks up a map, wanders around, saves Kaufman, wanders around some more, attempts to foil a drug running operation, and eventually fails. Oh well. Harry wanders until he finds his way to a boat and yet again runs into Sybil. Sybil and Harry catch up while Harry throws out red flag after red flag. Dahlia comes in and continues to gaslight and manipulate Harry while spouting some more schizo nonsense. Dahlia tells Harry to fuck off to a lighthouse and wave the florist around in the air. Sybil goes to the amusement park, per Dahlia's instructions. Harry goes to the lighthouse and he even gets to see a ghost. Spooky. After realizing he was too late, due to getting mauled by the dogs out front, he goes back to the boat. Harry notices Sybil isn't back yet, so he runs after her through yet another sewer. For dramatic irony, we are shown a cutscene of something ambushing Sybil. Spooky. Harry makes his way through the sewers and arrives at the amusement park. He finds, fights, and saves Sybil, and then beacom bocoms to Lisa's room in the Nightmare Hospital. Lisa tells Harry that she went down to the basement and saw the horrors that lurk. Neat! Harry attempts to console her through faulty logic. Lisa sees through this dismissive demeanor and leaves the room. Now Harry is alone again in the Nightmare Hospital. This is the final dungeon, and there's no map. Awesome! Harry eventually meets up with Lisa again for the last time, and she lets him know that she's just another monster and not actually a human. Lisa throws herself on Harry, and then he pushes her to the ground. Solid move. Harry solves the final convoluted puzzle and gains access to the door. Harry gets a weird cutscene and an exposition dump. So basically what's going on is Dahlia is the leader of a cult, and she's planning to use her daughter as a surrogate mother to birth their god. Dahlia attempted the ritual 7 years ago, but failed due to a bored trucker. Instead of birthing a god, Alessa split her soul in two, half remaining in Silent Hill, and the other half becoming baby Cheryl that was picked up by Harry and his late wife. Alessa has been undying in Silent Hill for the past 7 years, suffering in her own hell, psychically projecting it onto the town. As soon as Harry entered the town, his daughter's soul merged with Alessa again, creating the apparition we've been seeing. It's always been Alessa, never Cheryl. Now that all the seals have been broken and Alessa's soul is complete, the time for the final boss has come. And because I'm awesome and have been playing this game for the past 15 years, Kaufman shows up and interrupts the ritual. This causes Alessa to give birth to the succubus. It's kind of like a demon in their religion. I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, it's a cool looking boss fight. Now that Harry has killed the final boss, everything comes to a close. Dahlia is dead, Kaufman gets what's coming to him, Lisa won't be scared and lonely anymore, and Harry gets a new daughter. Harry and Sybil escape with Cheryl 2.0, and the bangin' soundtrack plays us out. Now that you have a basic grasp of what happens in the game, it's on to the theory. Before I begin, here's some background info on MKUltra, psychedelic compounds, and the way humans perceive reality, just so you can understand where I'm sort of coming from on this. So go ahead, grab a drink, grab a snack, whatever other extracurriculars you have, and buckle up, because Kansas is going bye-bye. The MKUltra Project. MKUltra is the code name for a CIA program which conducted experiments on unwitting test subjects during the Cold War. The program consisted mainly of dosing unwitting participants with LSD and subjecting them to different situations and stimuli. This was in hopes to elicit truthful confessions from captured spies or create sleeper agents who could be triggered to kill under hypnosis, among very many other things. You can read a lot of the declassified documents online, or you can scroll through the endless sea of video essays on the topic, but suffice it to say, for the sake of this video, it's just a Big Brother scary shadow organization type deal. LSD. For the uninitiated, LSD, or lysergic acid diethylamide, is a compound synthesized from the ergot fungus. Ergot is a fungus that likes to grow on grains like wheat, especially on wheat that pilgrims made into bread. Especially on wheat the pilgrims made into bread in Massachusetts. Especially on wheat the pilgrims made into bread in Salem, Massachusetts. Wait, Salem? Bread? Witchcraft? Silent Hill? What? Fun fact, LSD was first synthesized by Swiss scientist Albert Hofmann in 1938, and it stands for lysergic acid diethylamide. Now you might be thinking, but that would be LAD, not LSD. Congrats, you got yourself a big ol' wrinkly brain. The reason we call it LSD instead of LAD is because old Al wrote his papers in German, and the German translation for acid is Lächersauerdiethylamid. Similarly to the creation of artificial sweeteners, Hoffman unwittingly licked his finger while handling some papers in his lab. And 45 minutes to an hour later, he became the first test subject for the substance's research. This day is commemorated as Bicycle Day. It's celebrated by those in the know every April 19th, one day before 420, oddly enough. Basically, when humans ingest this substance, it can cause hallucinations and amplify your emotions. It can also induce a state called ego death, where any psychological semblance of you is dissolved. In this state, it is impossible to distinguish reality from your hallucinations. In some cases, the experience can be pleasant and even enlightening. You get a feeling of oneness with everything, and there is no difference between you and the universe. In other cases, it can produce an existential, horrific nightmare from which it seems there is no escape. In most cases, the bad experiences arise from a feeling of the trip lasting forever. There are even cases where people have totally forgotten they've taken the substance and they believe they're going to be like this forever. Set and setting is everything, and if you were unknowingly dosed with it and sent out for your day, I'd say 9 out of 10 cases would probably be bad trips. LSD is a real compound in our real world. However, the mind control drug that I'm theorizing is similar, but not the same. So think of it as LSD with a big old grain of salt synthesized in. This is the part of the video that's going to be a little bit hard to understand or explain even, so bear with me. We'll get through this together. It'll be fine. The human experience. As humans, we experience the world around us through our senses. Sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. The information that our senses bring to our brain is then decoded and displayed to our minds in an easy-to-understand format. This process is what we know as reality. You are not watching this video. Your eyes and ears are taking in information, and your brain is decoding it for your mind to interpret. Psychedelic compounds aside, there are many causes of hallucinations. Mental illness, trauma, etc. Basically, a hallucination is defined as experiencing a sensation from which there is no stimuli. For example, you see something that isn't there, like a ghost face peering at you from around a corner, or you hear your name being called in an empty house. Your senses are currently making you hallucinate reality, except the information that your senses are taking in is real because everyone else can experience it as well. Remember that leap of faith I was talking about earlier? Well, if you're still watching, first off, thanks. Second off, here is that leap. The theory is basically working under the thought that the entire game is being presented to us through the notes that Harry takes along the way. We're not playing the actual events that Harry undertook. We are being presented what's in his notes. Silent Hill basically is like a recreation or a dramatization of those notes. According to the manual itself, Harry is a writer, and writers do be writing. So they're letting Harry basically document the experience through his own experiences in his own words. The information would be invaluable to the program's research, and would be insightful to say the least. I mean, the town is kind of full of the exact same notepad everywhere with a big, bright, vibrant red napkin underneath. It's almost like a mental landmark that Harry can recognize and be guided to interact with. So, with that bit out of the way, here's what's going on. Dahlia Gillespie is the director of a CIA PSYOP that I'm going to refer to as Project SH Ultra. The town of Silent Hill is an empty town used by the program to test their drug, PTV, on human test subjects. Not unlike those nuclear test towns in Arizona or literally any city in North Korea, Dahlia used her pregnant daughter Alessa to perform horrible Shinra Mako experiments on her developing fetus. This was an attempt to create a human who was totally mind controllable, a total tabula rasa that could be programmed to do whatever the project saw fit. Dahlia then planted Cheryl for Harry and his late wife to find. SH Ultra would then monitor Cheryl's childhood development in a normal environment. After 7 years with no discernible results, Harry is carefully manipulated into visiting the quiet resort town of Silent Hill, Google advertising style. The game manual states that Harry likes to take late vacations, so he gets to Silent Hill a little after dark. Sybil drives up next to him on the road and pulls ahead, making her presence known to Harry before his mind is altered. Harry then crashes the car after being distracted by Sybil's bike on the side of the road. For the sake of the video, I'm going to say that he later retcons almost hitting a girl in his notes. While Harry is unconscious, Cheryl is captured by the program and neutralized. Dr. Kaufman doses Harry with PTV and they plant him back in his car on the edge of town. It's comparable almost to what Umbrella was doing in Resident Evil 3, dropping Nemesis into Raccoon City. They're basically stress testing their new bioweapon. Harry is given one prime objective, to find Cheryl. The reason the game is so foggy and dark is because Harry didn't write about the town itself or his surroundings. He only wrote about what he was doing in the town, running down a sidewalk, running into houses, through dark alleyways. He didn't write about the setting, what was immediately around him, because he was more interested in documenting where he had been, what he had done, and why he was there. Fog and darkness are interchanged thematically depending on Harry's overall mental state in the moment. When Harry chases the silhouette at the beginning of the game, he's not chasing the spirit of his daughter, he's hallucinating because he's starting to panic. After running down an alleyway, Harry begins to feel uneasy and the fog turns to darkness. Upon reaching a dead end, he hallucinates a hanging, mangled corpse and faints. Sybil is sent in and moves Harry to a more comfortable location, the diner. She introduces herself as a police officer from Brahms, the next town over, though she is really a mercenary hired by Project SH Ultra to make sure Harry doesn't stray too far from his path. The uniform and gender of this character were designed to put him at ease. A female police officer is a great fit to help you find your missing daughter. Harry is so out of it from the drugs that he even forgets to mention that the girl he is looking for is Cheryl, his daughter. Any police officer would be suspicious, especially if the town was truly being taken over by supernatural forces. But instead, she says she will help and gives a total stranger looking for a little girl a firearm, and then just dips. So Harry finds the first notepad in the diner. As he's writing stuff down, he feels uneasy and misinterprets some birds chirping outside as a monster flying around. It's over Harry's shoulder when we do see it, so technically Harry didn't see it, and the fact that we saw it means he wrote about it, so he heard something outside behind him. Here's another crazy bit. Harry decides to leave the diner, but on the way out, he hears some quote-unquote static through a radio. The radio keeps playing this noise that we're supposed to interpret as radio static, so he walks over to investigate it. Upon getting too close to the radio, he actually disturbs a bird's nest, and the mama bird decides to come out and attack him. Harry then picks up this broken hunk of plastic and puts it in his pocket to carry around with him for the entire game. The radio is being controlled by Dahlia. She's using the radio to transmit frequencies that alter and affect Harry's experience. Harry is constantly being surveyed by Dahlia and the project when he's in the town. The frequencies then affect his brain, which alters his perception of the trip. This is why the radio acts up when monsters are near. Harry is under the influence of PTV, and his brain is misinterpreting normal things as monsters due to the frequencies in the radio. The radio doesn't signal that monsters are near. The radio makes it so that normal things appear as monsters. The town is empty, dilapidated, and there are packs of stray dogs, birds, bugs, rotting buildings, and everyday architecture everywhere. All of these things coupled together produces the experience Harry writes about in his notes. Also, seriously, why the fuck would you carry around a broken piece of plastic with you? You should be focused on finding your daughter, not collecting useless shit. The project is interested in testing the effects of the drug on Harry. They send him on basically a citywide escape room puzzle themed around the Wizard of Oz. After proving that he can solve the puzzles while under the influence, he makes it to the back of the doghouse. After writing down his experience, he opens the door and feels hopeless, so the darkness starts creeping in again. Put yourself in this man's shoes. You're tripping balls and don't know it, your daughter's gone missing, and you need to find her, and you just spent 45 minutes running around a town collecting keys based off the Wizard of Oz to gain access to a backyard you could have hopped the fence to get to. But if that isn't the most this man is on drug shit I've ever heard. And I used to work midnights at 7-Eleven. I digress. When Harry makes it to the school, he finds another escape room type puzzle revolving around a clock. Harry then goes to the basement to start a generator so he can access the clock. I believe inside of the clock tower it's just a room with a mirror, so Harry has a Luke Skywalker journey in the cave, but instead of a cave, it is this clock tower. Harry gets turned around because of the mirror in there and expects to exit in a new place, except he is in the exact same place. This is why the school goes from the normal dark, sort of eerie school to the nightmare school. While exploring the nightmare school, Harry finds a story about a monster that you have to kill after it opens its mouth. Then he goes around and finds an unplugged phone. Still trying to use the rational part of his mind, he deduces that the phone does not work because it's unplugged. Upon trying to leave the room, the radio plays the sound of a phone ringing. Harry then turns around and interacts with the phone yet again. The radio plays some scary frequencies and makes him think that his daughter's in trouble, and he runs out of the room. Upon returning to the basement, he hallucinates the boiler to be a giant growling monster, the same one from the story he read. Upon further reflection, I actually think it's kind of funny to imagine Harry tripping balls in a basement, pumping round after round into just an everyday school boiler. Like, can you imagine? That'd be funny. By the way, while we're still at the school, current events aside, I find it ridiculously hard to believe that even in the context of this game, that you find so much ammo inside of this building, let alone a sawed-off shotgun with enough ammo for the rest of the game, too. I mean, seriously, if it's a product of the Nightmare World, then fine, sure, I get it, he's hallucinating, but Harry takes the shotgun with him after the Nightmare World goes away. Also, why would they have brand name ammunition? Did Alessa have a contract with fucking Federal or something? What's going on? What were they thinking? I'm sorry, my inner nerd came out there for a sec. But seriously, it makes more sense for this to be a government psyop using military-issued firearms planted for Harry to find. They could even be stress testing the firearm prowess of an untrained and inexperienced person while under the drug's effects. Anyway, once Harry believes he killed the beast, the vibes even out and it stops being so nightmarish, but then Dahlia starts playing those church bells over his radio. Harry was then manipulated to seek out a church that could be in the town and make his way there. This happens to Harry the entire game. Everyone drops hints in what they say through the clues they leave and through the radio. For example, again, Kaufman almost shoots Harry because he isn't sure how Harry is perceiving him, as a monster or as a human. He then manipulates Harry to stay on course by stating he doesn't think Cheryl would still be alive, and Harry runs around the hospital frantically to try and find anything that would lead him to her. While he's in the hospital, he meets Lisa Garland. Lisa's story is kind of weird. I believe that she was the nurse who was in charge of watching over and making sure Alessa didn't escape, and also just being her nurse. But through that relationship of nurse and patient, she began to sympathize with Alessa and, get this, helps her escape the facility. After talking with Lisa, he suffers another panic attack and passes out. Lisa gets scared and runs out of the room, and Dahlia comes to find Harry. He awakens in a better mental state, so it's not the nightmare place anymore. In just a normal hospital room, Dahlia comes in to manipulate him, and he's off on his way again. Since Harry is under the influence, he's in a very suggestible state, and believes everything that Dahlia says. She seems to be the only one making sense in this crazy world to him, after all. Harry then runs to the antique shop with the key that Dahlia left him, and he runs into Sybil. After a long, convoluted conversation, Sybil tells Harry that she saw a girl who was walking on air towards the lake, and he believes it. Harry also takes this to mean that the girl that he was talking about was Cheryl. They contemplate the hole in the wall, and Harry symbolically tries to take control of the trip in going in the hole first. That's a big no-no when tripping. Do not try to control the situation. Merely observe everything as it comes to you. Harry finds an altar left for him by Dahlia to really solidify the cult stuff as being real in his mind. After seeing all of this, his mind puts together that Dahlia must be telling the truth and that the town truly is going to darkness. So Harry does what he does best and faints. While Harry is unconscious, his mind is trying to rebuild, so to say. It's trying to make sense of everything that's going on around him. He hallucinates a conversation with Lisa, the nurse, the archetypical character who nurses you back to health. Lisa then confirms to him in the hallucination that Dahlia is indeed a crazy cult lady, and that there is occult activity documented in the town. Harry then wakes up and reloads his save file at the antique shop, but the bad vibes are sticking around this time. Put yourself again in Harry's shoes. You are tripping balls, not knowing it, and you are experiencing everything this game has to offer. Doctors, nurses, and police officers, all people who are supposed to be trusted in helping you, are all actors for the purpose of their research. Every authority figure, those same police officers, doctors, and nurses, either have no idea what's going on, are already assuming the worst about your daughter, or are just as scared and confused as you are. The only person who seems to be making any sense is the scary cult lady, and she's just manipulating him for the project. This isolated feeling is a strong one, and so the nightmare world seems to be Harry's norm now. Harry even awakens from the hallucination, lamenting that he's losing his grip on reality. Since Harry hallucinated Lisa, he obviously thinks that she is a nurse who can help him, so he tries to go back to the hospital and meet with her again. Since Harry is scared, alone, and honestly believes that there's this occult activity corrupting and making everything dark in the town, he perceives everything, including the town, as a threat. So he ducks into a strip mall and documents what's happened so far. And I believe what's happening here is he sees a caterpillar, or maybe an insect on the ground, perceives it as a threat, and squishes it. But symbolically, what I think is going on is he's killing his larval understanding of everything around him. The caterpillar represents the beginning of the stage of the butterfly. It's not a butterfly yet, it hasn't metamorphosized, it is still in its larval form, just like Harry's understanding of what's going on. Once he kills the caterpillar, he goes back to the hospital. Since Harry had a character development boss fight, he decides to try and protect Lisa, but Lisa knows she can't leave the hospital because the program is looking for her for helping Alessa escape. After Harry's character development was rejected by Lisa, he leaves the hospital and confronts the butterfly. The butterfly is symbolic of Harry's metamorphosis of understanding what he thinks is going on. Harry exits the boss encounter, no longer in the nightmare world, standing taller than he was before the bad vibes began. Harry began the bad vibes in the basement of the antique shop, and he exited the bad vibes standing tall on a rooftop. And I wasn't kidding earlier, he legit just warps to the waterworks, like you don't even get to run across the town again, he just warps. After breaking in, Harry's alone and lost underground. The bad vibes and radio frequencies manifest as the bugs and the little Ewok monsters. Even after leaving the sewer, the bad vibes stick around Harry, so the entire town again is the Nightmare Town. When Harry snoops around the town and walks in on Kaufman being attacked by a monster, I think the radio was still affecting Harry's perception, and Kaufman was just trying to hide from Harry. After fumbling around the town for a while, he accidentally stumbles across a vial of the drug that he's on, the Aglopitus, or PTV. Harry is then led to Dahlia's boat, where he meets with Sybil again. Harry comes in telling Sybil that the mind control has worked. He's totally invested in the lore of Silent Hill. He believes everything that Dahlia said, and he's off on a spiritual journey to save his daughter. After hearing this, Dahlia then appears in the room to set Harry on the final mission. Find and stop Alessa from escaping. He even succeeds in doing this. Harry really isn't sure what to make of what's going on around him because of the drug's effects and the radio, so he documents what he thinks is going on and heads back to the boat. Since Dahlia told him that he was on a time limit, this really lights a fire under his ass and he goes after Sybil. Since he has to go through another one of those sewers, the bad vibes come again, and they are here to stay. We even get a cutscene of Harry's anxiety as he thinks Sybil might have been attacked by something in the sewer. If Harry is truly under the influence of some mind-bending, ego-shattering drug, then it totally makes sense that he would think that he actually may have even saw Sybil get attacked. When he gets out of the sewers into the amusement park, the entire world is a nightmare. He can't find his way around, nothing looks familiar, it's all dark and scary and noisy. What I'm proposing here is that Sybil peeks behind the curtain, but Harry, having a microdose on his person, decides to, I don't know why, probably because he's on drugs, just throw it at her, and what do you know, she's tripping now too. So her eyes are open to the experience, she sees the horrors of what's going on, she actually wants to help Harry get out of the town now. They sit there for a while, kind of, staring up at the stars, talking to each other, and Harry just dumps all this exposition on how he was involved in the beginning stages of this program. Finding Cheryl with his wife, raising her, his wife dying, etc. Harry then passes out again with Sybil. Both of them are taken to the hospital. Sybil is in the basement with Dahlia being interrogated, while Harry is woken up by Lisa Garland. They weren't anticipating Harry to wake up so early, but due to Lisa's intervention, he does. Now Harry's in the hospital and he's just wandering around aimlessly. In the game, this is an amalgamation of all of the places you've been to before, solving all types of convoluted, annoying puzzles just to get down to the basement. But what's actually going on is Harry's in the hospital, he doesn't have a map, and he's constantly battling with what he thinks is real or not. So the hospital appears to him as everywhere he's been throughout the day. He finally runs into Lisa again, who says she feels like a monster for what she's done in the program. But Harry interprets this to mean she's an actual monster and not another human being. So he pushes her away and runs out of the room. She goes into hiding again, only to pop up at the end of the game. Harry finds all the symbols and heads down to the basement, and sees that Dahlia is interrogating Alessa and Sybil. Dahlia tries to really solidify the cult bullshit inside of Harry's head. Kaufman comes in, shoots her, and destroys the only remaining evidence of the drug they created. Harry is already tripping balls and misinterprets this whole spiritual mumbo-jumbo stuff as Alessa coming into contact with this holy liquid, so he hallucinates the entire end boss fight. But what actually happened is, Kaufman came and killed Dahlia, she fell on the remote that she was using to control Harry's radio. It blasts all sorts of frequencies through it, and Harry absolutely loses his fucking mind and hallucinates a Baphomet. After defeating that Baphomet and symbolically defeating the cult order, the facility undergoes a self-destruct sequence. Sybil helps Harry pick up Cheryl 2.0 and they escape. Lisa also comes back to make sure that Kaufman doesn't escape, getting revenge on Kaufman, killing herself and Kaufman in the process. Sybil is totally done with the situation and lets Harry go off to raise Cheryl 2.0, and they live happily ever after. Nah, just kidding. There's a whole ass sequel I have a theory on too. Since the original board of Project SH Ultra are all neutralized, the project will be overseen by a new director, Claudia Wolf. Well, that was fun to make. It took me a while, and my computer is slow, so it was kind of annoying, but glad I made it. I know there's a few holes in the story. If you have any questions, leave a comment, and I might reply. Alright, have a good one.